What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Inside the Five. It's Will.
Stop.
And it's Griff.
And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about this weekend's college games that we went over on last episode, as well as some NBA news and a little MLB update.
All right, kicking it off with NBA talk. We had a lot of great games this weekend, and it was kind of headlined by Joel Embiid and James Harden. They played their first games together, and they had 2 wins. However, I really do want to complain about something. Start off the episode with a little complaining. The free throw increase has for Joel Embiid and James Harden is crazy, in my opinion. I think they shoot way too many free throws. Joel Embiid is shooting 0.35 free throws per minute, which is an NBA record, and that's not okay. And I would understand if he was getting hacked and no, he's not getting hacked. He's literally trying to draw contact. He's getting to the line way too much. Him and Harden shot 37 free throws combined against the Knicks on Sunday, and I think the Knicks only shot 30 as a team, which is just unacceptable. That game took way too long. The pace really needs to change. I'm interested to hear what your guys' thoughts are about this.
Yeah, so the duo of Joel Embiid and James Harden that night, to clear it up, they took 37 combined free throws, just the two of them, compared to 35 from the Knicks. So it's still more, which is insane that 2 players are scoring more or shooting more free throws than a whole team that they're playing against. We know these are how these 2 players play. Like, James Harden has been known for trying to draw contact, and Joel Embiid has been doing the same over the past few years with the implementation of his little reverse, it's kind of a fadeaway, but I feel like he draws a lot of fouls on that. And they changed the rules over the offseason, and it was working. Like, James Harden was getting no free throw attempts. Joel Embiid was still getting a good amount. But now that James Harden comes here, it's like the whole rule went away, and it definitely didn't apply to Embiid before, but now it doesn't apply to James Harden. So they're just going to win games off free throws. They scored almost 40 points as a team off of free throws. And, I mean, that's almost half of a team's points on a nightly basis. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of ridiculous. The whole thing about the rule change, what's the point if this is still going to happen? Obviously, if this consistently happens between the both of them, which, it's starting off that way, who knows if it's going to stay that way? But if it does, that's ridiculous. 1, and then 2, they've been doing it literally their entire careers. Embiid has always been a free throw merchant.
Right.
Literally forever. He's always on the line.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but I've been hip to the Joel Embiid gets way too many free throws movement for probably his entire since the Sixers have started to become good. I'll always remember those battles between the young Celtics and the 76ers. Embiid would be going to the line at least 25 times a game, which is just ridiculous. I do understand if there's a mismatch and someone intentionally fouls him, yeah, give him his free throws. But a lot of these calls are literally just guys going straight up and he leans into him and then lays it in. That's not a foul. If you have to alter your shot, if you have to alter your movements to create contact and then get your layup, that shouldn't count as a foul. I think they done kind of a good job of addressing that, especially with guys like Trae Young who do the step back into guys just to huck it up. They don't call that anymore. So I'm just confused on why they see 7'2" Joel Embiid getting tossed around like he's 5'11", 180 pounds. No, this guy's 7'2", almost 250. He shouldn't be getting all these. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like they cater to him and Harden way too much.
No, I agree. I've been hip to that whole Embiid is always on the free throw line. Even like you said, going back to watching them early on, against the Celtics, I literally sit there on my couch being they're literally on the free throw line the entire game. Basically you're just watching them take free throws the entire game. And then the other thing is the whole rule where if the whole leaning into a shot and creating contact, he's just doing the same thing, but they just don't the rule just isn't enforced in the paint. He literally just waits for whoever's defending him arms to go up and literally just shoots at his arms.
Right. So I mean, Joel Embiid, I'd say he's number one on the scale for like MVP rankings at the moment. And Stav tweeted, I mean, I think a couple of days ago, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was just the fact that I think he's scoring around like 19 points per game without free throws, which I mean, that takes off six or not six whole points. That takes off, let me do math. That takes off 10 and a half whole points
Hmm.
off his daily average. Like that is a lot of points to be working with. Nobody is scoring 10 free throws a game except for him. It
Yeah.
just makes no sense how like you take away the rule. Everybody was excited about it because we're going to be able to see more back and forth basketball, like a lot of action, not a lot of stops. I just don't understand why it doesn't apply to Joel Embiid. I don't think it's in like a superstar treatment as in like a LeBron James thing or I mean a James Harden thing either because like they took it away from those guys. I see LeBron whining every single time he takes a shot. They're not even calling fouls on LeBron James and they're doing it often. I mean shooting 27 free throws in one game and he made 23 of them. That's insane. He had 23 points. 23 out of his 37 points were off free throws. It's insane.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I might be biased because I do not really like the 76ers. I'm a Celtics fan. There's a big rivalry, obviously, like we all are. But like, I'm just saying, I don't really want to take much away from Embiid because he is having a good other than scoring, he's doing a lot.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to emphasize that as well. He's grabbing like 15 rebounds and getting his blocks and assists. That's what he should be doing. However, his free throws really take away from his game. And it pads his stats. And I feel I'm looking at a guy like DeMar DeRozan who's scoring 35 points like consistently, and he's setting it at like NBA records for how consistent he is, especially shooting and not doing it from the 3-point line. And he's only shooting like 5 free throws a game. Why isn't he
Right.
more talked about in the NBA or in the MVP race? He's doing it more purely than Joel Embiid. And on top of that, the Bulls are in first place in the East. Like, I think DeMar DeRozan should be the front runner for MVP. It's just the narrative of Joel Embiid scoring 29 and a half, grabbing 13 boards a game is going to be overshadowed when it should be he's scoring 19 points a game and grabbing those rebounds. Like, he's not an MVP, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah. So I mean, the Bulls 2 seed now after they lost because Ja dropped 46 on them, but still that doesn't take off. They're one game away from the 1 seed, a team that nobody thought was going to do anything this year. They made some key additions. DeMar DeRozan averaging 28 points a game over the season, and I mean, last time I checked, it was 35, at least 35 in 8 games in a row. I don't know if he's continued to do that. My guess is he has. But you're right. I mean, what he does in a game, he grabs 5 rebounds. He's a small forward, but he's played shooting guard pretty much his whole career. And he's playing a little power forward too, which is insane. He grabs 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 28 points per game, and he's leading the Bulls to a better record by a good amount than the 76ers. And I think it's the fact that Joel Embiid is one of those guys that like made a name for himself, kind of like he's a superstar. And DeMar DeRozan should be as well. But DeMar DeRozan, ever since he was on the Toronto Raptors, kind of fell off with the hype, going to San Antonio, a smaller market, especially when they're not winning as many games as they used to. But he comes back to Chicago, pretty big market, and he's getting love, but he's not getting nearly enough as Joel Embiid just because of how much success he's had in the past few years and how much everybody knows about him. Like he's always on Twitter, he's always on this. I think that at that point, when you're comparing DeMar DeRozan and Joel Embiid, it's just a popularity contest. And right now, like this isn't 2014, 2015. But right now, Joel Embiid is winning that popularity contest. That's why he's on everybody's number one. And that's why DeMar DeRozan is either 2, 3, sometimes even 4, just because nobody really thinks about him like that. And they're seeing the stuff he does. They say it's crazy, but they don't give him the love for it. So that I feel like that's always the case with the MVP. It has been every year. I think it was Giannis last year and Jokic the year before. It was just the people that everybody watched the most, first off, because they're on national TV the most, and the people that have the most hype on like social media or in general. Like it's a popularity contest. It's not a most valuable player. It's a most popular player.
Yeah.
That's a good take on it. And speaking of popular players, diving into the next topic about Kyrie Irving and the Nets going into Milwaukee. That was Saturday night. and beating the Bucks shorthanded.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
Kyrie, I really hate saying this because obviously my personal bias, but Kyrie Irving is amazing. I think if he plays a majority of the season, he's the top 3 point guard in the league. Like he scored 38 against the Bucks. He consistently proves, especially on these road games that the Nets play. He's eventually, I think, pretty soon he's going to end up playing home games. But like, you can't stop Kyrie. You can't stop the Nets when they're fully healthy, in my opinion. Like that's a very scary team, especially if they're winning with just Kyrie. Kevin Durant's coming back. Ben Simmons is coming back. Like it's very scary time for opposing teams.
I'm interested to see how Ben Simmons plays. Like how they use him in like their lineup because like that's a tall lineup that they have when they're all healthy. Like him,
Yeah.
KD and Kyrie on the floor at the same time. It seems better than having him, KD, and Harden.
Right. So going back to what you brought up, Stav, I mean, beating the Bucks in Milwaukee, and even though it's regular season, Milwaukee gets rowdy for every game. So they're a true home court. Like the Bucks want to play at home, it's obvious. And this is a big win for Brooklyn. They've been on a slide. They've been without KD. They were with Kyrie for only their away games, unless they play the Knicks, then they don't have him as well. And Ben Simmons is conditioning to come back because he hasn't played all year, so he's not in game form, which is insane that he didn't stay in game form somehow. First off, I think that's crazy that they're conditioning him. But they don't have him for a while. I mean, KD said it was going to be reevaluated today, but nothing has came out. So maybe we'll know by the time this comes out. But the timeline for KD is supposed to be at some point this week. So they're coming back already with KD. Now for Kyrie dropping 38 points against the Bucks, that's what he does. Like, and he said in a post-game interview, I thought it was hilarious. He was like, I just can't wait until we're full strength. Like he's literally part of the reason why they're not full strength. But he comes in, he drops 38, like Kyrie does. And as much as I don't like Kyrie Irving as a Boston Celtics fan, I can't lie about the love that I had beforehand. Like when he was on the Cavs, I don't like LeBron. I used to always say he's lucky that he has Kyrie on the team after having D Wade in Miami. Like Kyrie is the answer. When Kyrie was at Duke, even though he got hurt, like I'm a big UNC guy, but like I don't know why. I just loved watching him for like the 11 games that he played. So I was excited when he was in Cleveland. Won a ring. He was cool. It was when Vine was cool. He had so many videos on like Vine, and he was like just hilarious. Like he was someone for a while that like you could relate to because he kind of had the same personality as us when he was younger. Like he was on Vine. He was like putting like hoop mixtapes on Vine of him playing mini hoop basketball. Like that's hilarious. So I always loved Kyrie Irving, and like the stuff that he goes through now is a lot different than the stuff that he went through when he was playing with the Cavs because of all the political drama and things of that nature. But Kyrie 38, 5, 2 steals. Like he can do this every night. He literally can. He is, if he plays a full season, we saw it the full season that he played when it was his first year on the Nets and KD and Harden were struggling with injuries. Kyrie played pretty much every game that year and he dropped like 26 and 6 a game. Like he can do that. He just needs to be there the whole time.
Yeah, like easily he can. I mean, like regardless of how many games he plays, anytime you have him on the court, like you're gonna win a game. Like
Yeah.
he'll literally will any team to win a game. He's done it his whole career.
And speaking of willing teams to victory, guy that can't do that anymore is LeBron James and the Lakers. I mean,
Well, yeah.
they're 27 and 33. They come off an embarrassing loss last night against the Pelicans where they get booed off their home court, the Crypto.com arena. And they just had so many turnovers. I mean, Richard Jefferson was calling that game, and he was basically like, the only thing to root for right now is to get 30 turnovers as a team. It's the only thing that's entertaining right now. And there's so many clips that came out last night of just terrible turnovers. I one that comes to mind is DeAndre Jordan just airmailing a pass 30 feet over. I think it was Wayne Ellington. Is he on the Lakers?
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, it was over his head. probably by 30 feet. The crowd was booing him basically all game, as they should. When you have like high-profile guys like LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, all these guys, you're gonna boo if you don't play well, especially against the Pelicans, who aren't really a strong team right now. So I'm interested to hear what you guys had to say about that as well, because the Lakers are screwed.
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, if they manage to keep themselves in the play-in, I don't think they even win the play-in. They will lose both games and they won't make the playoffs. Like, they're just simply like that bad. And even if like they do make the playoffs, their first round exit. I think like their like ceiling this year is making it past the first round. Like, and that's stretching it.
Right. So, something that's like so weird to me is the fact that Russell Westbrook is the only player on the team. Excuse me, the only player on the team to play 59 or at least 55 games. He's played 59, which is one less than every game this season. So, first off, I don't know how he's played almost every game. And Braun is up there on that list too. There is a lot of people that aren't playing a lot of games, Anthony Davis being one of them. Anthony Davis is the best player on that team by far. It's not even close.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say what you want about LeBron James, but he's not the best player on that team. He is the number 2. It's LeBron James, but he is not the number 1 on that team. When you're missing out on the number 1 on your team, like picture – I don't know how to compare this because it's so different as my lights go off in this room as they always do. It's a lot different, but picture like Tatum being out. We have Brown for the rest of the year, and we have Brown and the rest of the bunch. Like that, you're missing a big piece. And I'm not saying that the Celtics and the Lakers are the same, but it's the same as taking your best player off the team. LeBron should step up. LeBron hasn't stepped up. He's averaging 29 a game. That's cool. But just like Russell Westbrook, as I've been saying for years, those stats mean nothing to me. He doesn't make winning plays anymore. He just gets points when it's easy to get points. And it's easy often because he's an all-star. Like, he can do these things. I feel like he doesn't try hard enough.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I feel like everyone always thinks like, oh, LeBron James can just turn it up in the playoffs. He's just saving it for the playoffs. Look at last year. They barely made it in. They were the play-in seed. They were the 7th seed, I think. And they got their butts handed to them against the Suns in that first round. I think they only won. I think they lost that series 4-1, or they got swept or something like that. But LeBron James is at that age now where he can't will a team to the finals, especially in the West. And we'll kind of get into it a little later. But the West isn't so top heavy anymore. You're starting to see like the 3 through 6 and 7 seeds are going to compete, and they're really good teams. Like, you can't be a 7 seed and expect to walk through the first round. You're not LeBron James from 2016. You're LeBron James from 2022 with really not that strong of a supporting cast, even though it should be.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I agree with you on that. I like LeBron. I mean, like as we said, I don't think LeBron he definitely has it in him to will that team to the playoffs. He just doesn't, and like it doesn't make sense why. And like there's so many veterans with like tons of leadership on that team. Like they don't lack in that category at all. And it amazes me that they just can't figure out how to play together. Like, I mean, like obviously like too many stars on a team, that creates a problem. Like, I mean, it doesn't always work out, but at the same time, like these are all pieces that are still like able to play in the NBA, and they're still like they still have a skill set. Like, it doesn't make sense how you just they just lose it. Like, it's just so weird.
Yeah, and I've watched a good amount of Lakers games this year. Just they're always on ESPN or ABC or TNT on a night that I'm bored and I turn on a game. I've watched a lot of them. I can't even lie. And I've watched a lot of LeBron this year, and it's been the same thing every single game. He misses. In my opinion, it feels like he misses a good amount of shots. I don't know his average, but he's not like doing enough, and he may not be able to do enough because of our expectations of him. He may not be able to do enough of what we're expecting because he doesn't have the perfect cast around him. He has great players like Trevor Ariza can fit into any team. Russell Westbrook was a superstar 2 years ago, not even an all-star, a superstar. And Anthony Davis, I already talked about dealing with injuries. LeBron needs a certain type of team around him, just like every other player in the NBA. You
Mhm.
can't just go on and be great on any team. And that's why we saw it with Terry Rozier with the Celtics. I'll keep referring back to the Celtics, obviously, because we're all Celtics fans. We remember these teams. When Kyrie went out, Terry Rozier was the perfect puzzle piece. He was dropping like 25. Like, how did we know? He goes over to the Hornets. We already know he's good because he was progressing. He would have been a lot better on the Celtics. He would have been our starting point guard right now.
Yeah.
Right? So LeBron had his team for the bubble, and they did just enough. I still don't think that was the perfect team for LeBron. Here's how LeBron's lineup needs to be: a point guard or a guard that's ball dominant. So the Heat had Dwayne Wade, who can handle the rock. The Cavs had Kyrie Irving. The big difference between Kyrie Irving and Dwayne Wade, compared to Russell Westbrook, is just the way that they can create from literally any situation. They can all shoot from anywhere. They can all go get tough lays or dunks or things like that. And you think Russell Westbrook could do that, but he's not the same playmaker that Dwayne Wade and Kyrie are. It's kind of weird to explain. I'm going to try to explain it the best I can, but Kyrie and D Wade, they make the best play,
Mm-hmm.
right? The best play for the team. Russell Westbrook makes the best play for the stat. And that's kind of what we've
Makes
seen
sense.
LeBron do the past few years as well. So if you have two people playing for stats, it's never going to go well. And that's why he needs the right team around him. He needs shooters at the 2 and the 4, and then he needs a tall center that's going to go grab boards at the 5. And he doesn't have that.
And
Hon-
we have
honestly,
to.
honestly, I think like I know I agree with you. Like certain like players need certain teams. Like LeBron needs a team, but honestly, I think there's too much stuff going around the team that's completely distracting them. I think they all
Yeah.
have the skill set. That's like the team that they can be successful as a team. I think they're just too focused on the fans. They're too focused on what the media is saying. They're too focused on everything else that's going on, and then they're just trying to ignore it and play basketball. And none of them are getting along. The mental capacity for them is just not there. They're not focusing on the right thing. That's I
And
think really what it is.
kind of alluding back to what you were just saying, Griff, about how LeBron's had past teammates like Dwayne Wade and Kyrie. The main difference between D Wade, Kyrie, and Russell Westbrook in standards of LeBron's teammates is you trust D Wade and Kyrie to take that last shot.
Yeah,
You trust
exactly.
them
Exactly.
to, if you're down by 2 or 3, you want the rock in their hands because they're going to make a play. I mean, countless times Dwayne Wade has made plays for LeBron and got them the game-winning shot. Kyrie Irving is one of the more clutch players in the NBA. Russell Westbrook is not that. Like, we see it. He tries to be that. He's always taking the last shot for the Lakers, and it just never goes in. He has that Michael Jordan mentality where it's like, oh, I've missed half the game-winning shot. Russell Westbrook has missed every single game-winning shot he's taken since he was on the Thunder. Like, and LeBron James is going to get I don't like the flack that he gets for passing up that last shot to Melo the other night against the Clippers because he was getting triple teamed. But, like, Russ has to be there to create for LeBron. Melo has to be there to create for LeBron. LeBron needs guys to create for him, especially at this stage in the career. You got to get the ball down to him on the block, have him do his magic. Like, he doesn't do that anymore. Lakers are going to finish probably a 9-10 seed. They'll lose in the play-in round, and LeBron will go back to Cleveland and ruin them again.
Yeah.
No chemistry. There's just no chemistry. That's
Exactly.
really all it is.
It's a good
There's
point.
just no chemistry. They're like the mindset is just not basketball, and like you can tell because every time they ever get asked a question, it's literally about them getting booed
Mhm.
Yes.
or the side of the back or what side of the backboard that Russ hit like in the third quarter. So like it has literally nothing to do with their skill set.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's shown the past 2 years that the Lakers have to do something. They didn't do anything over the trade deadline. Braun might be out of LA after this year, which would be crazy. But moving on, the Celtics. I don't need a clean transition when it comes to the Celtics because nothing about that game last night was clean. Celtics ended up losing to the Pacers after beating the Pistons, who, first off, the Pistons are a great team when it comes to playing the Boston Celtics. They match up against us perfectly. But the Pistons, that's a game I needed. And we won 11 of our last 13, so I can't be too picky. But, like, I'm starting to gain trust in this team, right? And they just go off and they lose one. And that game was sloppy, in my opinion. It really just didn't go the way that it's been going. One bright spot from that game, though, was Peyton Pritchard. It was Peyton Pritchard. And I don't know what you guys think of Peyton Pritchard, but I know you guys know what I think of Peyton Pritchard. And in 2 years, he could be our starting point guard, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys are thinking of, but I think we should cover PP real quick just because he was really the only bright spot that we had last night.
Yeah.
So, Stav, I don't know what your thoughts on Pritchard are, but you know how I feel.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of with you with Peyton Pritchard. I agree. I think he's that spark plug that they need, especially right now because he's coming off the bench. I trust him to come in the game and make plays. You know, we kind of been talking about making plays all episode, but this is a guy who's going to get an offensive rebound and lay it right back in, get an and one, hit a deep three, kind of change the momentum. He's a spark plug on this team. Fits perfectly, I think. I was very interested once they traded Schroeder to see how Pritchard kind of stepped up as our number 2 point guard. And I think he stepped in perfectly. He scored 17 against the Pistons. I don't want to say won the Celtics that game against the Pistons.
He did a lot for them.
Yeah. He
definitely
closed out the game. And without Pritchard last time, we probably would have lost by 35 plus. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think Pritchard contributed a lot more than the stat sheet shows, especially in the past 2 games. And I'm really excited to see how he progresses throughout the season.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like, I've always been a huge fan of Peyton Pritchard. He gets buckets. That's all he does. And I think like honestly, like he's like that because like he went to Oregon. He stayed there all 4 years. His age, he has like, even though hasn't played in the league, what's his 3rd year? Like he's still young in terms of like league years, but in terms of it was 2 years.
Yeah,
second.
In terms of league years, like still young, like. He still has.
Yeah,
it. He's
I
older
mean,
compared to everyone like from his like rookie class. So
well, yeah, he fell in the draft because of his age. Because teams like to get kids when they're like 19 years old, so they can really form into the team over the next couple of years. But Peyton Pritchard was kind of an exception for that because we're missing out on him for a couple of years. But he kind of fell perfectly to us because it was right after. He came in during the Kemba era. It was in between Kyrie, Kemba, and then we have Kemba. Kemba gets hurt, gives Pritchard more minutes. Like, we couldn't have used Peyton Pritchard for the 3 extra years he was at college. So it was kind of good that he stayed because now we have. There's no chance we would have had him if he came out of his freshman year. His ball handle is awesome. His catch and shoot 3 is awesome as well. They haven't started using that until after All-Star break the past couple of games. But he can do it all right now. He can ball handle and he can catch and shoot. That's all we need from a backup point
guard. Before I head out, my kind of closing remarks, I got to leave a little early from this episode. My apologies. I know everyone loves to hear my voice, but I think there's a lot of, I don't want to say it because there's a lot of hype around the Celtics now, and then when they lose games like they did against the Pistons before the break, and like yesterday against the Pacers, there's a lot of doubt that resurfaces. So my opinion is that they go 13-2 in their last 15. That's awesome. Their only losses have come off of the second night of a back-to-back against scrappy teams that are just going to run you to death all game. So, and they're all travel days too. So there's a huge homestand coming up. We have the Hawks, the Grizzlies, the Nets. Like, I think this is the real test.
Yeah, this will be. I think we'll go on a nice little streak at home, and we play the the Mavs at one point at home as well.
Mm-hmm.
KG retirement night. That will be a big test going up against Luka and the Mavs. We had trouble with them. Remember last year we had 2 really close games. Luka hit a game winner on us, one of those games. But I like the way that we play against the Mavs, and I feel like that's going to be a real test for our defense as well with the way they space out the floor. There's a lot of good games to kind of show the real true colors of the Celtics coming up, and it'll be good that it's at home because it'll show us kind of a little bit less of a tired Celtics that we saw at the end of before we started the break. It's just. I'm excited, and I don't know if I should be, which kind of makes me nervous because the Celtics have been known to let us down in the past few years. But at the same time, is this Jason Tatum's time? Like, is he stepping up? Like, is this it? Is he going to be a perennial all-star for the next 15 years now? Are we entering prime?
I feel like we're right there. I feel like like we're closing in on that gap between like his early career and then that prime. Like I feel like if anything, next year is gonna start that first full. Like he's gonna come off right off the rip.
Yeah, right off rip. Like,
Right
yeah,
off
that's
the
what
rip.
I'm saying. It's like
Like
next year going to be like the start. Like this
yeah,
year
and
was
then
like, we're easing into it. Maybe we'll get to like
we'll
the
get a
third
glimpse
round, second
of
round,
the
third
playoff.
round.
We're gonna get a
Yeah,
glimpse of the playoffs of what he's really, really like, and then that's gonna set a baseline of what we're gonna expect from at least the next 5-6 years.
and not only Tatum, but our guy Rob Will has been getting buckets, like straight buckets. He had 10 and 11 last night, which wasn't that great, but again, it was in a loss. Rob Will is a guy that gets you. I mean, one night he got his 15 points and 17 rebounds. Like Rob Will, he's 6'9", 6'10". He's not the tallest, but he jumps out of the gym. I mean, like he's gonna be our starting center, and it's gonna be that big three. It's gonna be JB, JT, and Rob Will. I'm convinced. I think Rob Will's gonna get to a couple of All-Star games in his career. You can call me delusional. You can call me whatever you want. He's kind of like an Andre Drummond. And for years, Will, I've always been talking about how I wanted Andre Drummond on this team. Now I feel like I got him. Like we've been wanting a center for so long. Here he is. He's on
Yeah,
our team.
I mean, like, yeah, we might be a little like undersized and at that position because he is
Yeah.
6'9", right?
Yeah, but he doesn't play like it.
But he doesn't play like it. He plays like a 7-footer, which I mean is huge. He's a big wingspan, which helps out a lot. Can jump out the gym, which that's even better. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we don't know how long that can last. I mean, I'm hoping he's got it for a while. I mean, like just because we've seen that trend with players who can jump out of the gym, like it's just scary
Yeah.
because the whole
And he already does have a
situation.
bad day.
Yeah, so like I mean, hopefully it lasts long. Like, I mean, I can only wish for like the best, but I mean, I think we really have it. I mean, I can at least expect for the next 3 years that we're going to be in a good position.
That's facts. I mean, if we keep this team, I think maybe getting a couple additions for the bench, but I feel like our starting lineup is kind of set, and I feel like I haven't felt like that in a while. Especially if we, I like the idea of having Smart and Derek White both in the starting rotation with JB and JT, and then Rob Will at the five, like that. It's a little bit of a small ball situation, but at the same time, it's really not. And then we have nights where Al Horford can come in, Daniel Tice. Hopefully, he can keep doing it for a couple more years productively because, I mean, he's been great with us again, and I'm hoping that he can keep that up because it's nice. It's just nice to like not worry about who your starting point guard is going to be on a nightly basis. Like Marcus Smart locked down that role, and Derek White can easily lock down the starting shooting guard role. But I mean, Al Horford's playing great at the four. I'm just glad we have our core. Like we finally, I
Yeah,
feel like we've locked in our core, and now it's time to make the additions to go make runs.
no, I agree with you on that. And like this could be an off take. I'll take it, but the years that we were in the Eastern Conference Finals, chances that we could have gone to the finals with both Brown and Tatum on this team, I feel like we kind of overhyped our situation as a team. I feel like during those young years with Tatum and Brown, even with like Kemba and Kyrie, I feel like yes, even if we were to win the Eastern Conference Finals those years, those finals games would have been tough. I feel like the only year where we really could have had a chance of bringing home a championship was probably that bubble year. We would have
Yeah,
we would have beaten the Lakers. I think we actually would have beaten the Lakers.
I agree.
And but like those other years where we're just like, damn, I wish we had those back. Like I wish like what happened there, like what's going on with our team? Like are these guys really it? I feel like that's kind of like I mean, obviously it's a little bit more secure now that we actually like are playing well. It like my take would be completely opposite if we were not playing well. But I mean, like that goes for
Right.
like obviously if they weren't playing well, there's clearly an issue, and there has been. Now that they're all kind of gelling, we're finding the right pieces. We're actually putting together pieces that make sense for our play style for once, which that's a rarity, and like we never see
Yeah,
that.
I know.
We usually just see
Yeah,
this guy's really good. He'll probably play well for us. Yeah, he will play well for us, but now we're losing like 15 points combined from our two best players.
right. And it feels good to have a sense of like security with your team. And Jason Tatum coming out saying that he wants to play with Jaylen Brown. Like, why would they split us up? That'd be stupid. Like, that he loves JB, all of that feels good. And it's just good to see Tatum stepping up. He in my opinion, he played one of his worst defensive games, definitely the worst defensive game of this winning stretch. He played that last night against the Pacers. He was getting scored on a good amount. His plus minus was the worst amongst all players. But I mean, those nights happen, and the way that he's been consistently doing the opposite of that is huge. I mean, he's 6'9". He plays small forward. He can move like a shooting guard, point guard, even. Like he's athletic, and he's showing that he's going to use that athleticism to play defense, and that's big. And it's, I mean, he has the best defensive rating in the NBA for a wing this year, which is not even something you would think of. Like Jason Tatum's been a scorer. What if he does both? Like he's doing both. That's like he can be a top 3 player in the league. Like we said, next year, like he could win the MVP next year.
He could. Like, I mean, like obviously, like right now that could be a little bit overhyped, but like in terms of, like how realistic it could be, like we're seeing a huge transition in the play style of the NBA and players in the NBA. Like we're at the glimpse of a prime career of someone who could be one of the best players like all time.
Yeah. I mean,
like you just don't
it
know.
could happen.
Like, yes, like that's
right.
a stretch, but like he's scoring at will. Like not many people have that ability. Like you just like he plays like a lot of players that are like the greats. Like obviously not of like all time was a stretch, but like one of the greatest players in the NBA. Like like you're gonna talk about him years from now.
I mean, he's constantly setting records for the Celtics, which if you're setting records that are franchise history for the Celtics, you're pretty dang close to setting NBA records. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah,
like,
if you're getting up there, like there's
like the Celtics, one of the most storied franchise, has had some of the greatest players of all time, and you're breaking their records is crazy. And we know Tatum is amazing, and I feel like we haven't even really like thought about it that much with the struggles we've had with him early in his career. But like, this isn't the years anymore. Like Curry didn't come out right away and start winning with Monte Ellis, you know. And we came out. We went to 2 Eastern Conference Finals. But the thing is, neither of those teams were Jason Tatum's teams. So that's why I asked that question earlier. Like, this is finally his time. He's ready to lead a team, which is the first year that I've said that. I didn't say it last year. I said that he needs to.
Yeah, I feel like,
but he had it. He did.
Yeah, no, he had it in him, but I feel like it just wasn't right in terms of his play style. He was still trying to figure out what he's really gonna excel at, like as a whole. Like obviously, like those young years, you need to figure out what your play style is gonna be again. Like, I mean, obviously, like if you go back to remember Katie had that whole like interview, I think it was like with Draymond, they were like talking about his like whole career, like starting from when he was younger, how like he didn't always grow up playing like each position, like everyone changes. Like I specifically remember him talking about how his play style completely changed after college. Like he completely learned a whole new like skill set, which is basically what we're like expecting from Tatum. Like
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like it's weird because we give him a lot of hype, but we also don't cut him a lot of slack when he's underperforming. And it's just so weird because we always say he's so young, but I feel like we are so busy saying it to other people. We're so busy saying it to other people, we don't really even realize it ourselves, like how young he is, and we need to realize for the next couple of years, like we're set. We're set if we keep him. Like he's going to be one of the great players in the NBA year in and year out. So like, I'm not happy with the loss against the Pacers, but it's not like you can win every game. I guess that's kind of the moral of the story. Like we overreact a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Sports fans.
I mean,
that's
like
what
Bostonians
Bostonians do.
Just like what happens. Like like it just we expect so much like from our teams, from our players. Like I mean, like we are a high market city, so like it's like we expect certain things. I mean, obviously like with young guys, we like I feel like recently we're just developing younger guys as like a whole city.
Right.
We're at that transition period, so it's different.
Yeah. I mean, we're going on to the next generation of like leaders. So it's like we're not talking Tom Brady anymore. It's Mac Jones. We're not talking Paul Pierce anymore. It's Tatum, or you could have said Isaiah. I guess Isaiah run it for a couple of years. And I mean, in hockey, you could say the same. Like, no more Chara. We got Pasto. We got McAvoy. Like, it's a shift, and it happens because nobody can play forever. So I mean, and it's not like that shift is gonna like one thing's gonna end and then right away we're gonna be great. That's not how it works. So
No.
I mean, it's just a little adjustment period because you can't be LeBron James. So
Exactly.
moving on. College basketball, craziest weekend of college basketball ever. We're going to be going into depth about the games that we talked about on Friday's episode, but Friday's episode games are going to kind of go into this little thing that I have set up. All 6 teams lost. All top 6 teams lost on Saturday, Will.
Which
all
is
of
wild.
them. The first time it's ever happened ever. And so we'll get things started. One seed Gonzaga loses to St. Mary's, the 23 seed. I'm going to get into the standings after, like the rankings after we cover these games, but I just want to say Gonzaga did stay as the 1 seed, as well as Arizona, who was the 2 seed. They got beat by Colorado, but they are going to remain the 2 seed. After that, it is completely different. So let's get into it. Number 17, Tennessee against number 3, Auburn. Will, I was the only person that bet on Auburn, or I didn't bet on them actually because I didn't trust the game. But I was the only person that said Auburn was going to win. They didn't. You were right. And I watched this game from start to finish. Tennessee played as a team. It was obvious. And Auburn didn't, but there was a big reason why they didn't. It's because nobody could score except for Jabari Smith. Jabari Smith, who might be the number 1 pick, I kind of have him going as number 2, however. He was the only person that had it going. He had 27 points. He had 8 rebounds. People are comparing him to Kevin Durant. He's like a 6'10" power forward, but he low-key brings up the ball and shoots threes. A big disappointment was maybe a Naismith Player of the Year candidate, but I'd knock him off after this game because this was a big one. Walker Kessler, who I think is going to be good in the NBA as well. He gets rebounds, he gets blocks, and he shoots threes. He's like 7'1". He only had 8 points with 5 boards. He got a lot of fouls early, which is exactly what you need to do because you can't hold Jabari Smith, but you can't hold Walker Kessler, especially a big guy. There's a lot of fouls in college ball. Overall, crazy game. Tennessee scoring was spread out. Like, I think like 4 or 5 different players had at least 10 points. I don't think anybody had over 20. They just went off. Like, it was defensive domination for Tennessee. And as we said, Will, the home crowd, the checker, it was electric. It was from the start of the first half, you knew Tennessee wasn't losing that game. And Auburn kind of climbed back, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I didn't get a chance to watch all of the games this weekend, but I did get to see a good amount. I watched some highlights. That Tennessee game looked absolutely wild. Like, coming from what I was saying, whole like fan perspective, like, you knew going into that game like how important that was for Tennessee to win. So like automatically you knew like that was going to be a tough game for Auburn, especially now that everyone's been on Auburn about like that decline. They were number 1, like they were undefeated, like they were going crazy.
Right. Yeah, it was just a crazy game, and I pretty much all of these games that these top 6 teams lost, I think all of them were away. Which is how college ball works at the end of February going into March. Speaking of a team that lost big away was Purdue, lost to Michigan State in a big one. Tom Izzo, I think he set the record for most conference wins in that conference, which is crazy that Tom Izzo's been there that long and has done all that. So that's a big win for him. It's a big win for Michigan State. They knocked down number 4 Purdue, who was ranked number 1 for a while. So Purdue fell down bad. They went from 4 to 8, I wanted to say. And as well as Auburn. Auburn went down from 3 to 5. So not as bad, still in the top 5.
It's not bad, but yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you're still falling down. That's not what you want to be doing heading into March. Next game, this was my favorite game of the day. I watched all 3 games that we talked about because it was kind of lined up on ESPN. So I didn't get a great chance to watch the other ones. I did watch a little bit of Duke Syracuse, though, so I'll talk about that like a tiny bit. I'll just throw it in at the end.
Mhm.
Number 10, Baylor in Waco, Texas. I called this one against 5 Kansas. I know Kansas is a great team. This was just another example of what I said against Tennessee and Auburn. It was team ball against ISO ball. And Osei Abaji, sorry, I tried so hard to get that down, and I had it down. Osei Abaji, 27 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He was unstoppable. He was hitting threes from everywhere. He was doing everything. But Flo Thamba on the other side of the court wasn't letting any of that nonsense go down. He had 18 and 9. Baylor only had 2 players play off their bench, 7-man rotation. That's all they needed. Baylor loves to play defense. They love to run. They're such an exciting team. That's why I knew they were going to win this game. And it's not like this game, Baylor was favored in, right? And they covered the spread. They won by 10 points. It made too much sense to bet Baylor. I feel like we all knew Baylor was going to win. I think Kansas, their record was only 1 game better than Baylor, but their rankings were 5 better. And that's why I said on the last episode, it's that time of the year that we don't even look at the rankings anymore. You need to look at their standings in their conference. You need to look about who's matching up against who. Like, this is serious now. This is college basketball.
Yeah.
And Baylor is a team that is so well coached. And I'm not saying Kansas isn't, because we obviously know that they are. But Kansas plays a different brand of basketball than Baylor. Baylor keeps their guys. Kansas has done so as well. But that's just not the way they play, and it was obvious. Purdue, or not Purdue, I was looking at Purdue. Baylor ran them out of the gym. It was as simple as that.
Which is what you expect from a Baylor team.
Yep, that's what they do.
That's just exactly what they do. They play.
That's how they won the Natty last year.
Yeah, we see how they play. That we expect that every time they go out there. I mean, they're gonna be a force in March Madness again. Obviously, they won last year, so you would expect them to be good again. But after losing some players, they're still their play style is so dominant in the way tournament style for March Madness works. It's just that's how it's just gonna play out.
Yeah, I mean,
that's honestly
how...
I mean, I don't know if they're gonna win. I don't really it's too early to really, still a little too early to really get a.
There's so many different teams that can.
There's so many different teams
just find their way through it.
Early on prediction: be prepared for them to make another run.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple. They have the guards. They have the bigs. I'm a little bit scared about their bench depth, especially come conference tournament and March Madness time, because those games are back to back to back. But they haven't been healthy in a while, and that's why they fell. And it's crazy to think that they weren't healthy and they were still the 10 seed. And they're getting all their players back. I don't think anybody's going to be out for March Madness or even the conference tournament. Yeah. Baylor's going to be a 1 seed going into March Madness. I have them winning their conference tournament. I don't see how they could lose it. Baylor has so much momentum, and that's such a big win to really kickstart this little stretch that's going to lead up to conference tournaments. Because I think there's only 3 or 4 games left for each team until conference tournaments.
Yeah.
Moving on, the final game of the top 6 to lose, 18 Arkansas, number 6 Kentucky. I think we all said Arkansas was going to win this game, and they did by 2 points, but it wasn't one of those where Kentucky missed a shot at the end. Kentucky hit a 3 at the end. They were down 5. They lost by 5. That's what I call it. So Arkansas started off hot. Kentucky found their way back into it, but could not finish at all. Oscar Tshiebwe, though, went off. 30 points, 18 reboards, and 3 blocks. He is insane. Oscar Tshiebwe, probably my Naismith Player of the Year, went crazy like I expected him to. Nobody could stop him. I don't think anybody in NCAA basketball can stop him. I think the reason that Kentucky's going to lose, it's going to be remember when Zion played UCF and almost lost to Taco?
Yep.
I feel like it's going to be that situation where Tshiebwe sneaks by a team that they shouldn't have beat, and then they lose in the next round because they're just so tired. I think that's how Kentucky's going to lose in March Madness. But Arkansas, J.D. Note, 30 points, 8 assists. I mean, that's crazy for a guard to do in college basketball. Guards don't put up numbers like that. They put up 20 21, 24 points, but they don't put up 30 and 8 assists. That's a lot of points to be accountable for. It was an awesome game for him. It was an awesome game for Arkansas. I'm totally on the Arkansas boat right now. I'm riding Arkansas.
I am too. I like honestly, Arkansas just such a fun team. I don't know, like
I love them.
they're just they're just a fun team, and there's nothing more you can say.
Yeah, it's. I love Arkansas. There's a lot of teams I love. The last thing I want to say about NCAA, I said I'll go over it. Duke Syracuse was a blowout. Coach K's last game, I think they had like 30,000 people in the Carrier Dome for it, just to see the worst game ever. But Buddy Boeheim did himself. Like he's different. I love Buddy Boeheim. He's been on the Syracuse team for the past 15 years. So shout out Buddy Boeheim. It had to have been his this has to be his last season. He's old. Moving on. Oh, so anyways, the only reason I said that was because Duke moved on in the rankings to the 4. So Gonzaga 1, Arizona 2, Baylor 3, Duke 4, Auburn 5, and then Kansas 6, Kentucky 7, Purdue fell down to 8, Providence at 9, and
Big
Wisconsin at 10.
Providence.
Big weekend for Providence. We'll cover that on Friday's episode. But before we head out of here, a quick little MLB update, Will. I'll let you take it away.
Big news around the MLB today, given that it is technically deadline day for what they were expecting. But before we get into the not so great portion of it, we do have Derek Jeter stepping down as the Marlin CEO, which was a brief headline in today's news. Very interesting, given it one Derek Jeter's in the news, so it's obviously going to be a big headline.
Well, I wanted to say this shouldn't be a big headline at all, bro. Like, he just doesn't want to do it anymore. It's not like he did a lot for him. He was just like an owner.
Exactly. It's literally just because it's Derek Jeter. Like, I mean,
he's done, bro. He's made his money.
Yeah, there's like no need for him to really be there. Obviously, like the whole thought process was for him to like help out the team, but like he's
turned the franchise around. But like, he's not the head. He's not the skipper, bro. He's
I don't
part of their ownership group. Like, it's not.
It doesn't
big of a deal.
Yeah, I never really understood what that was really all about to be like when that happened. But I mean,
I'm glad you brought that up because I just don't understand. Like Derek Jeter, and I would say this if it was anybody else. Like, he's just done. Like, he made his money. Why was he owning a top 5 worst franchise in MLB history?
No, I don't.
He has no business owning this. He's a winner.
I really don't understand. Like, I don't know the whole like office positions for baseball. Like, I don't know how, like, I don't know the names of them. There's there's too many different things with baseball. But like, I get it if he was some kind of like, not like a scout, but like literally like a player coach. Like,
a player coach, something like that. Or anything. Like, he didn't actually have a role in the organization. He just funded
field kind of like coach 100% would make sense.
It'd be a big deal.
Or even like helping like the minor leaguers like become better like for their system, like something like that. I don't know if that I really don't know.
Yeah, I think that at most he like went down to the field a couple times and like gave a few pointers, but he's not coaching.
Yeah, I don't think he was
like he's not there every day. It's
like I can't say that he like wasn't allowed.
Just let the guy retire.
Yeah, no,
let the guy stop. He doesn't need to anymore.
No, I agree. I not that I don't think that he wasn't allowed to go down the field and like give pointers whenever he wants because it's literally Derek Jeter. I don't know if that was like even something he was like interested. Like, I really don't know. This is like a super confusing like headline in the madness of baseball. Like,
yeah. And Derek Jeter, top 5 worst defensive player in the Hall of Fame. Moving on. The deadline.
Basically the deadline. So basically not great news. There's no current update as of recording right now at 5:10 on Monday. Basically the only thing we can really to sum it up for you, Bobby Bonilla might be the highest paid MLB player this year.
He still gets paid.
He still gets paid, and he's still getting
even paid during the lockout.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, he really finessed the Mets.
I know. So the trade deadline is today. I mean, not the trade deadline. The CBA deadline. Hopefully, that's what they're getting at.
Or we're going to be missing regular season games.
So basically, the MLB threat. It was basically a threat to the players that they're saying we're considering to cancel a month's worth of the season. So that means
I don't know if
day.
I could do that.
So like, my assuming is like opening day will be canceled, and there won't be like a opening day. If that makes sense, like they'll start a month late, and that will be just like that's it. Like they might do opening day like cool things like per stadium, but I don't think they're going to be required to be like it's opening day, like let's go, like let's have a great season, like that kind of stuff. It's like we're back on the field, like that's what it's looking like. I believe as of an hour ago, I've been like looking at Jeff Passan's Twitter for like a while. An hour ago, Rob Manfred and officials just walked back to their side of the stadium after meeting for about 40 minutes with the union. I feel like this might be the longest meeting they have had. I swear every single time they're supposed to have a meeting, it's like the meeting ended 5 minutes later.
Oh my god, dude!
I don't think they've had a meeting longer than like 15 minutes.
Here's my prediction on how these meetings go. Ready? They first off they do it at stadiums, which is sick. Like that's
like
cool.
that's like really cool. Like I don't.
Yeah, that's so cool. But they show up to the stadium, right? Manfred's already on one side of the stadium, and then they tell him when they're there in the suite. And Manfred's like looking over center field, and he's like, okay. So he walks around the whole stadium. He goes to him. He's tired. He walks in. They're all sitting down with their papers out and like notes and different things, bro. And they're like, okay, are you ready to talk about our new contract? And he just says, no, I'm not making enough money. I need more money. Bye. And that's it. And Manfred makes more than money.
Not even. He's looking out. He's in the middle, like in the box right over home plate, looking out into field, or looking out into center field. Turns around and everyone's like, "You guys want to play this year? Listen to me." Like that's literally how the meeting.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, "No," and then the meeting ends 5 minutes.
I feel like both sides are saying no. Like both sides just hate each other.
No, I really.
It's been the most drama ever during a lockout. We've experienced a lockout in every single sport. Like we experienced it in the NFL for players and refs. We experienced it in the NBA. Remember when KD was dropping like 50 at Rucker? Like, and it was never ever this serious as like the MLB. Like, are we ever gonna play? I don't know if we're ever gonna play. But Will, I have good news. I was told that it doesn't affect the minor league. The minor league still goes.
Really?
That's what I was told. I was told.
You
might have to look more into that.
That's bigger news than everyone thinks it is.
We might become a Woo Sox podcast if there's nothing on in the summer. I'm being serious.
They're not a wait. So are they they're just gonna bring down people to win a minor league chip?
No.
Rafael Devers is the starting third baseman for the Woo Sox.
That would be crazy. Imagine this is like they're packing Polar Park. They would sell a Polar Park every night.
Yes, they know. Chris Sale.
They almost did last year, and we didn't even have like that cool of players. We had a few.
They sold out on Chris Sale night.
Yeah, well, Chris Sale night was different. I tried to go.
It wasn't even Chris Sale night. He pitched at like 3 in the afternoon.
He pitched at 3 in the afternoon, and he was limited to like 35 pitches.
Yeah, and he sold.
And he pitched 3 innings.
Yeah, which is wild.
Yeah, he's the GOAT. But
that was wild. Like, I mean, obviously, as news goes along today, I'm going to say this. I mean, it could be different by the time everyone's listening to this tomorrow. I doubt it will be, but I'm expecting at least a month of the season to be shaven off.
Yeah, that's my prediction as well. And I think at one point it's going to take a little bit more off the season. I don't think we're going to get anything signed by the middle of March. I think it might be late March, and by then it's like pitchers and catchers were supposed to report 2 weeks ago. So it's like it's not even the time where it's like, oh my gosh, we could fall behind. We fell behind. Like we're into a whole different sector of this lockout because you're scared that they're not going to be playing, but they should be playing right now, and they're not.
And this meeting should have happened like 2 weeks after the World Series.
Yeah, they really held it off, and they were like
middle of December. They were like, "Ooh, 4 months until pitchers and catchers report." And let's not sign a new contract. Yeah, it's been rough. It's honestly probably one of the bigger messes that has happened in, I would say, our like lockout history in terms of just every sport.
Yes,
I feel
exactly.
like most
That's
of
what
the
I was
losses
saying. I agree.
that have happened,
They're smooth. It's like there's one thing that's missing out, and then at one point the league's just like, okay, fine, we'll let you do this, and then it works.
they find a way to like make both sides at least a little bit happy. They don't have to be 100% happy, and they're just like, you know what, for the interest of everyone else, let's just agree.
Yes.
I feel like it's never been this complicated. I feel like I've never heard of a meeting end 5 minutes after they show up.
Yeah, no, it's kind of something you can look at and like laugh at. Like that's a joke. This is the MLB, a sport that's you could say is dying. I think had a big
They are
resurgence last
following
season
a
alone.
big bag they've had the last 6 years.
Yeah, and I feel like they had a big resurgence last year. They were up in viewers by a lot. I remember I did a paper on it because I'm a sport management major.
Mhm.
And They were up big, dude. They were up big with views. There was a lot of excitement around Tatis. Like even the Red Sox were fun to watch. The Astros were fun to watch. The Dodgers. There was so many teams. The Giants. Like, and now we all want to see what these teams are doing. And they have a lot of momentum going into this season. And it's right when we were picking up momentum. We've been on a downward slope since we were like 12 years old, and the MLB has been going down since then. And right when we have a little bump up, it's like, why are we just going to fall right back down and not have a season? Like, Rob Manfred needs to realize that the MLB isn't the same MLB of the 1980s and 90s and before then. This isn't the number one option for everybody on a nightly basis anymore. Nobody wants to watch 9 innings of baseball anymore unless you're a loser like me, Will, and Stock, and a few others. Like, let's be honest. That's
No,
4
well,
hours
like,
of
see, the thing
baseball.
is, it's like it's not even like the league is boring. It's well, no, wait, let me retract. It's not
League's not
like
boring.
it. No, the league's not boring, but it's tough when like there's baseball's on. You have a slate starts around 1 o'clock around our time, like on
Yeah.
a good day. Like that's when all the games are starting to come on. Like we're starting our day, and then like the two worst teams in the MLB have like an 8-10 start, and that's what's on TV. And you're just
Yeah.
like, well, I mean, like it's baseball. The worst, like, I mean, obviously you never know. It's baseball. It could be any kind of game, but like it's just not
Right.
something that you're interested in. But like they've been like last year, like great year.
Last year
Now
was
they're
awesome. Yeah.
like they're just there's
And
a
it's not even like we're gonna have a bad year this year. We might not have a year this
we
year,
might not have a
which
year.
is like
Just
you're missing out on so many opportunities that you created from your season last year.
uh before we close things up, I had like two things. One, it's bad. You know, it's bad when after every meeting they're like, "There's an ocean-sized gap between the two sides."
Yeah, that's
That's
awful.
ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The fact that
It's
it's
March.
to the point where it's that bad, that's outrageous.
I
And the
don't think
other
there's a
thing,
chance. I don't think there's a chance. If we're gonna be that far off and it's March,
guarantee we play 60 games this year.
I think we'll play. I think we'll start in late May.
Yeah, I think we'll I mean, for the sake of us, we'll be out of school and we'll be able to actually go to games. But like that's not even the point.
But like, that's not even the point. I want to watch games when I'm bored at 7 o'clock when we're playing the Athletics, bro. Like I want
Yeah,
to
like I want to just
like
talks.
the
I'm like,
Red Sox fill time. I watch them in the background, but sometimes things get interesting and I watch them. Like I watched pretty much every Red Sox game last year, and it's like once the NBA playoffs are done, bro, which is like late May, um, there's literally nothing else.
no, like you either
Nothing.
like occupy with a different activity or you watch baseball.
Yes.
Like there's really nothing going on at all. I mean, like I don't even it's like literally the summer. It like I don't like it's wild to me that they're that far apart. And also the funny thing is they're still sending out emails to renew like MLB TV and like
I know.
all
I
this stuff.
saw that. I
I'm
saw
just
that.
like I get them, and I'm just like, bro, why are you sending me this? Like the league isn't a real thing right now.
That's all over Twitter. It's like, how about you figure out your contract and stop sending me emails?
No, like actually, and also is
I've been getting those emails too, and I've never had an MLB subscription.
never like they're like this. Are they like trying to
Like
fund?
how'd they find me though?
Like are they trying to fund their agreement with me? They want my $35. Like I don't understand. And then the other thing is the rumor true about Peacock picking up MLB?
Is that true?
There's a
I
rumor.
have Peacock.
I don't know.
Bel Air, great show, great remake. I recommend.
I don't
But
know.
that would be awesome.
I don't know if they're part of like. I don't know if they're getting some.
We
kind
don't know anything. That's the thing because
no. I like literally was scrolling through
there's
Twitter.
no talks.
Saw something about Peacock potentially being part of the MLB. And
Yeah, no. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, like I don't really know. Wait.
Because Peacock is owned by NBC.
Yeah. Oh, so actually, there's more news resurfacing now. So obviously there's what's it called? Like trending on Twitter. Mike Trout's obviously a big name that like people wasting a month of his like prime, which I mean he's been hurt.
Right.
Like, but like still like that's a big thing for like just fans of the game. The other thing is Stan's in the news because Jeter technically gave him to the Yankees for nothing.
Yeah, that's facts. That's actually facts.
And then the last thing is Bryce Harper is considering to play overseas if the lockout continues.
There's a lot of leagues overseas that are enjoyable.
Yeah, like I just don't understand how we're gonna like watch the overseas. Like, there's not many like leagues that like are easily like I can't just be like, hey, I'm gonna go turn on this league in a different country. Like,
no, I think if he goes to the Japanese league, then we're straight because I think they have a deal with ESPN. I see them all the time on ESPN Plus. So hopefully he goes to the Japanese league.
Yeah, they're.
And I bet you will. I bet you if they get stars, they'll get a TV.
It is the Japanese league he's thinking about going to.
Yeah, the Japanese league is awesome. I actually watched a lot of those games, and people were betting on them a lot too over COVID break because they were still playing. There's some cool team names in the Japanese league, and there's some cool teams, and they're good. So, I mean, screw it. Like, if you're not going to play, go play somewhere else. That's why you see a lot of people playing in the Dominican League right now, and they'll probably continue to until this contract is signed. And who knows when it will be. But, Will, do you have anything else?
That's really it. I was just trying to see if there was any more, like, trending news before we, like, head out, because I know it's a big...
I mean, they should be in talks right now, but who knows?
I know the meeting, like, ended, so I, like, figured that it would already come out, but there's nothing, so...
All right. Well, well, I hope you guys enjoyed. We will catch you on Friday, and peace.
Peace.